All right, here we go. Every time.
Yellow!
Hello.
Yellow!
Podcast number 16. We are.
Excellent podcast.
We're getting into it now, aren't we?
I've been in it the whole time. I
We've
promise.
been in double digits for like 7 weeks now.
Oh boy.
Yeah?
No. So today's episode is a little bit of a continuation of last week's discussion, just kind of drilling down a little bit more. We're going to be talking about health. This is
Oh boy.
this is one of those topics that I think, man, like streamers either totally avoid or they go way too far. And it's a big one for virtue signaling online, and just like it's just super easy to kind of sound good and say nice things. It's very, very easy to seem like you're being really helpful or feel it's just one of those like instantly rewarding things that a streamer can like just tap into. And I want to be careful about this. The first thing we should probably do is have some disclosures about ourselves. So first of all, I am not a mental health expert or a physical health expert by any means. And I'm going to give each one of us a chance to kind of give our own disclosures, because we all have, what we're going to say about ourselves in this field, so that everybody has kind of a good reference for where we're talking from. So I'm coming from a place personally where I just want to be healthy, and I want streamers to be healthy. I have a bias here. I care too much about how people treat themselves as streamers and as people in general. And that gets me in trouble as well, because I like to listen to people complain about their health and then try to help them. And I'm not a mental health expert, or I care about my own health a lot. And then vicariously, I guess I just care about everybody else's health too. So that's my disclosures. I am not an expert. And I do have a bias. I want everyone to be healthy. So Snazzy, why don't you give us your position and bias?
I think I'm pretty sure I don't want anyone to be unhealthy. So I'm probably biased in the same way. Like, I don't want anybody sick, right? My disclaimer is that I am like 2 steps down from a professional clown, and like obviously I am not qualified in any way to comment on health issues. And if I am
Not
sharing
professionally.
any,
You're qualified enough to just talk about it and ask questions.
I can talk about my own experiences a lot, and I'll say this is how I felt, what worked for me, what blah 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 blah. But at the end of the day, see your doctor.
I was sitting here thinking you were
Seriously?
Patch Adams, too. Nope.
Clown and doctor. Maybe I missed my calling.
Oh boy.
Maybe I
Okay.
missed my calling.
Pickles, let's go to you.
Mental health is literally my family business. Like my grandfather and my mom, like we all work in mental health industry in our day jobs. So that's kind of my educational background, I guess. I went to school for it, but I'm not giving out any official advice on stream or anything.
Yeah,
but
we'll talk about that too. So.
I know mental health stuff, yeah.
What's your bias though? Do you feel like you have like a leaning, or do you stay away from the topic? Is that what you're saying? Like, or do you?
Well, I don't stay away from it. I try to never get too deep and never like too clinical about anything. Like I just try to be a positive friend, if anything. But I haven't really gotten into like the deep stuff, like never breaking down this, that, and whatever as to why somebody's feeling that way and what they should do about it. Like I've never counseled anybody.
Right,
I guess I
right.
should say.
Okay, and then finally, let's hear from Eat Your Meats.
So I am a mental health expert. I feel pretty comfortable saying that. I've been in the practice of psychiatric pharmacy for 8 years now. been a pharmacist for 10 years. I'm boarded in psychiatry as well as pharmacotherapy, which is kind of like almost like a internal medicine. So even yeah, I do have a doctorate degree. I just don't flex that. It's a weird flex on the internet to flex. Um,
Yeah.
but I don't make that a focus of my stream. I'm an advocate in a lot of ways for mental health, and I will speak openly about it if it comes up, but not on an individualized basis. So kind of like what we talked about last week,
Right.
talking about from like a general perspective. Obviously, I'm very motivated to encourage people to live their healthiest lives and care about themselves and be positive. So I guess my bias there is like I have a lot of faith in treatment of mental illness and management of mental illness, but can also come from a perspective of the science and the clinical experience with it because that's my day job.
Okay. Thank you guys for sharing. And I'm just trying to give everybody a chance to know where we're coming from when we speak on the rest of these little like subtopics and the things we're going to talk about. We're going to kind of try and break this into two sections. First, we're going to look at the broadcaster's health. The person, you, the streamer, hopefully listening to this, your health. And that's you as a person, the impact that streaming has on you, and just encourage on some levels. I'm just going to try and encourage people to aim for being healthy. I think that this is probably the most difficult topic that we've approached, because we don't want to be giving people like direct one-on-one mental health advice, but we don't also want to not care about your mental health. We want to care and encourage people to make good decisions and to think about their mental health as a streamer. I think a lot of streamers get into streaming without even consulting themselves at all on any level, thinking deeply about how sitting at a chair in front of a computer for 10 plus hours at a time, what that does, the toll that the trolls and the relationships online and streaming and being on camera and having lights on you and being an inactive, basically you could walk all you want and run all you want, but if you're sitting in front of a camera for 8 hours straight every day, that's going to take its own toll on your body physically. You could run, you could try to counteract it, but it's still probably incredibly risky. And so we want my goal generally with this is to kind of look at the aspects of being a healthy streamer. There's a lot of, I think, pressure from just this industry and other streamers to copy and do what seems to be working. Well, the top streamers sit in a chair for 8 hours straight and just play games, or they do things that are seemingly that if most people did them, they would end up with some sort of difficulty down the line, and it's a risk. And I feel like that pressure is maybe the first thing we should discuss is trying. How do we stay healthy as a streamer? Like, is there anything you guys do to try and mitigate some of these like difficulties of like being an inactive person just sitting in front of a camera with your heart racing half the time because you're playing X game and it's stressful, or somebody big rated you and you're not active, your heart rate is way up. Like my heart rate right now is 107. I'm sitting here talking. So what do you guys suggest? Let's start with each your meets and we'll expand from there.
So what I do is actually I implement like pretty much forced breaks. So, and I probably do it more frequently than most people do, but I'm that kind of person that I'm a little older than a lot of people who stream. And, if I sit for long periods of time, I do get sore. So one of the things that I do is I get up and I stretch every about hour and a half. I take a like 5 minute, even if I just got a raid, even if it's really busy. I think it's really important to take those few minutes. Just make sure you have an interesting or entertaining BRB thing that pops up, and people will typically stay. But it's good for you. I also encourage people who've been watching my stream to get up and stretch if they're able to, as well. And I think that's one of the things that I'm pretty strict about. The other is like trying to be strict about how long you stream and sort of monitoring that, realizing how that balances into your day to day. So if you're someone who is gonna stream for 8 hours, don't go 12 consistently. It's okay occasionally, but making sure that you are thoughtful about maintaining that structure, that schedule, so that, if you don't end up going super long and then it disrupts your sleep or it disrupts your rhythm of the day. Even if you have a really great stream, making sure that you're really thoughtful about that. Leave them wanting more. It's okay. I think those are the biggest things that I do, is just really trying to make sure that I maintain that restriction on myself so that I don't push myself too hard.
That's good. Yeah, these are all good ways of handling this kind of stuff. What about you, Pickles?
Well, I should probably just do better with my physical health overall. Like, even when I'm not streaming, I'm sitting down a lot. Like, we go on daily walks with the dog, but that only does so much.
Do you feel pressure at all? Do you guys feel pressured at all to have to be like to take extra care of yourself because the camera's on you and people are coming in, you're meeting new people?
Not
what way?
not extra care, just
I
you know.
mean, I kind of feel like I should take care of myself better because people are looking up to me, kind of thing. Do you feel?
I honestly just contemplate streaming without a camera. That's how I get by. Like,
You think about it, but you don't do it. Yeah. Um, Go ahead. Sorry, I kind of interrupted you. Highland Pickles.
Well, I mean, I don't feel pressure to like do better just because I don't think of myself as a role model. I feel more like on the, I don't know, like we're all. I think of everybody who's there is like on just like the same level as me, right? So I don't know. I'm more inspired by other people saying that they're getting healthy than me being the one to get healthy to inspire other people.
True.
But
It does help to have other people, like seeing other people overcome their sicknesses, even things that are like doctors say are impossible a lot of times. That's the stuff that's motivated me the most, actually, too.
yeah,
But I feel like a responsibility to like study mental health, physical health. Like I watch a lot of YouTube videos and try to look at the research and stuff like that. I don't think a lot of people are like that, and I don't think streamers have to be that way. But um, I think the danger is not knowing enough, and then thinking you know a lot. Right? The whole like,
yeah.
what is that curve?
Dunning-Kruger,
Yeah, the Dunning-Kruger effect. And then
100%.
feeling the pressure to like make everyone feel good and happy and stuff like that. So like stay. This all kind of has this weird feedback loop where
yeah, it does.
you. Well, anyway, let's keep talking about taking care of yourself as a streamer. So, you mentioned taking breaks, eat your meats, and that is that just for a physical? Is it like a mental break, or is it? You said mostly to stretch. Is it mental too?
I think it's both, right? It gives you a chance to just kind of like step away for a minute. It gives you a chance to, dedicate some time to just using the restroom, taking care of yourself. And I think it allows you to kind of pace your stream a little bit better too. So I think, there are days where I don't need it for centering purposes, but there are definitely days where I need it. Like if I'm playing Dark Souls 2 and something's kicking my butt, sometimes that's what you need, is just get up, stretch your legs, take a moment away from the screen, and honestly, it's so tough on your eyes to stare at a screen for that long too. And I don't necessarily directly think about that, but I don't wear blue filtering glasses or anything like that. because I wear contacts, and just stepping away from a screen, it's good for your eyes, it's good for your body, it's good for so many things, that it's really a detriment not to take frequent breaks. And I know it's tough because you don't want to leave your audience, but you also don't want to harm yourself long term, right? And
Right.
sitting in front of a screen for multiple hours straight is just bad on so many levels for you.
Yeah. Plus, you have like, you want to try to balance the rest of your life with streaming, and you don't want to go have streaming take a toll on sleep. You're losing sleep, or your efficiency at your regular job, and take away from time that you should do other things like exercise or go for a walk, which is what I do basically for exercise, a brisk walk, and you want to kind of have a balance. I think this is true while you're live, and like the amount of hours that you stream all at once. I'm not a big fan of these 24-hour streams people do. I think 12 hours is a lot to even ask for an audience to stick through. 24 is very long. I think rarely or occasionally it can be okay, but I couldn't do that. I get like really dizzy at night. I'm an old man now. I'm like super tired by 11 o'clock. It's bedtime. Like I go to bed at the same time every day, like on purpose. And I couldn't be a streamer that just stays up all night and just streams. It's not physically in my system to be able to actually handle that. But I feel pressure to do that kind of stuff because that seems to be how everybody streams. Right? Like,
yeah, there's a hype to it, and it's interesting. It's almost like there's a bit of like a social commentary that can be made to this, where we as a society, I'm speaking more towards American society, but we as a society are very big proponents of kind of pushing yourselves way too hard. And a lot of people go into streaming thinking of it as like, pull myself up by my bootstraps, which you physically can't do. It's actually kind of an oxymoronic statement. Yeah. Like you literally can't. Or, I'm going to stream every day for a month or whatever. And it's like, there's no long-term thoughtfulness there, right? Because so many of those streamers that do that end up burning out, right? And it's a buzzword right now, but it's a phenomenon, right? Where people are like, well, I got to take a break from streaming now because I just pushed myself too hard. It's like, don't push yourself that hard. Like, pace yourself. Figure out a way to be consistent. I think consistency over a long term is better than these like hype roller coasters that people create where they push themselves just too much and then they have to step away because it's too much and then they have to come back. And there's a hype to coming back, but at the same time it's just that structure and consistency is so good physically, mentally for people too. So trying to figure that out is so hard, but it's so important for balance. It really is.
And people feel like they can't take breaks because if they take breaks, they're going to lose their momentum. People will stop watching their stream. Their stream won't be relevant anymore. But I don't think that that's true, because I know people who they burn themselves out streaming like crazy. And then there's people who are just streaming like four days a week, like 3 to 4 hours at a time, and they're fine. And their numbers don't go down because they take a 2 to 3 day break over the weekend. They come back and everything's the way it was when they left. I think there's too much pressure socially from other streamers to have to. You're right. Like we put too much pressure on the streamer to be always there and always on, and that's the other thing, is it takes a toll on you mentally to kind of present yourself as this happy-go-lucky person. Whatever your stream persona comes off as, whoever you are on camera is not always a one-to-one with who you are off camera. And I think we don't know what that does to the human. Like, this is almost like an experiment, right? Like, streaming is so new. We don't really know the long-term implications of what it's like to be a streamer all the time. Even actors get long breaks between like their filming and then their next film or something. Like there's massive amounts of time given to pretty much all of the entertainment industry, but not streamers. Streamers don't really
Right.
take breaks. They don't take time off.
Well, it's like that concept that it's a more of a social concept between like cultures and races, but it's that idea of code switching, right? If you've heard of code switching, it's, you know, if you are in another environment, and we do that from our day to days as well. So like think about if you've ever worked in a service job where you have to answer the phone, right? You don't go, "Hi, this is so and so. Can I help you?" You go, "Hi, this is so and so." Right? It's a different energy, right? We code switch. We change what's called our affectations in response to the environment. And there's been studies that have looked at it, particularly for like the African American culture and code switching to a more Caucasian centric culture, which they are much more commonly forced to do versus other situations. The mental toll that it takes on people to have to do that is actually quite significant over time. So we're almost forcing ourselves, and I don't want to like make a direct correlation between those two things because this is a much more voluntary switch of code. But there is an exhaustion about that. There is like an additional mental effort that has to be employed to switch to whatever, right? And I think it's going to be a little bit different from person to person because some of us are going to be more genuine or a little bit, you know, less different, if you will, when we stream versus not. But we're going to be at least a little bit different.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
it just might be.
It may not
wearing
be a
pants.
personality difference. It may just be muscle tension, body posture, things like that change. And you know, we don't really, you don't have any kind of awareness of all the things that are happening in your body, like your heart rate and things like that, unless you're wearing a heart rate monitor. There's a lot that goes into this, and I think it's kind of scary actually that we don't know how unhealthy streaming is. Like we just hope it's not that unhealthy. It's probably better than sitting in traffic and commuting on a lot of levels.
Probably, but like that's a low bar to clear. I feel like.
Yeah.
Like
Well, sure.
Probably better
yeah.
than drinking
things are better than
fifth
sitting
of
in
vodka a
traffic.
day,
right?
right?
Yeah. Yeah. So mental health and physical health, I think, should be a priority for every streamer because you, like everything else with streaming, you have to be like your own coach, and you have to kind of set up your own goals and expectations for yourself. Nobody's going to do it for you. And how many times have we had people come into the stream and be like, "You look really tired today," or like, "Have you guys heard this?" Like,
No, they know I will murder them if they said that. That's such a rude. I don't know.
It
I don't
is,
understand
yeah.
why it's socially acceptable to comment on how tired someone looks. It's like if they look tired, they
happened the other
probably
night.
feel freaking tired. Don't do that.
I've had times where I wasn't even that tired. And people are like, "You don't look good."
Like so rude.
It's pretty rude. It's like, and it's by a friend, right? It's a person we know who shouldn't be doing this kind of stuff. He's like, "Are you either super tired or super high?" I'm like, "No, I'm super on Benadryl right now because my allergies were kicking my ass." It's like close, but I've definitely had that though, where people will come in and be like, "Man, you look dead today." I'm like, "That's because I just got off a job." It's like,
Yeah.
And
it's Monday night,
sometimes I'll call out sleepy days. Like if I'm having a day, I'm like, yeah, so it's gonna be a low energy day today, guys, and you know that's okay. But yeah, no, you know you gotta figure that out. And if you really seem tired, maybe you shouldn't be streaming. Maybe you should be snoozing.
Yeah. Go to sleep. Yeah.
just maybe.
Get
I
some
pretty
rest.
much I pretty much never force myself to stream. Like if I'm not feeling good enough, I'll just call it off for the day or whatever.
And
Long,
that's
I think
one of
it's
those things I
important.
think people don't do often enough.
yeah.
Yeah.
People are like terrified of like last minute canceling a stream. If I'm not feeling it, I mean, my wife could tell you like it's literally been like 15 minutes before a stream, and I'll tell her, "You know what? I'm not streaming tonight. I don't feel it."
This is kind of one of those areas of mental health that we as a community, like the giant community of streamers, could do a better job, I think, of encouraging each other to take care of ourselves and not give each other such a hard time or do anything that kind of adds to the pressure, because I think the streamer, is usually the person that's going to put the most pressure on you being live and making your stream work. And it's much easier if you just make the decision. My health comes first. I am going to take care of myself and just not worry about how other people are looking at it or whatever. One time I had somebody raid me. That was a very big raid, but I had like been playing, I don't know, Apex Legends or something, and the match was like took forever, and I had to use the bathroom really, really badly. Like the worst I'd ever had to use the bathroom on stream. I should have gone before the match. I didn't, right? And then I got raided like right at the end of the match, and I'm like, I'm so sorry. I have to get up. I have to go to the bathroom. And my audience, when I came back, my supporters were all really pissed at me. I got all these private messages about you shouldn't have gone to use the bathroom. You just got this big raid, like 300 people from this big streamer. She came in to support you. What are you doing? And I'm like, I'm going to the bathroom. Like I literally couldn't wait anymore. Like I was at the end.
Sonny, come on, you don't have a pee bottle under your desk?
Yeah, that would have been
If
great.
people in the poultry business can do it, so can you, right?
It's just so I'm like, look, dude, like I was already pushing the limit of my health situation. Like, not, you don't do that. There's this pressure even from your viewers. Like your viewers can really want you to succeed, and then they're like, you screwed that up. Like, okay, I think we need to do a better job in this space of giving each other a little bit of room to breathe. Not just because, over time it can kind of add up. The social pressures can make you make bad decisions, but the social pressure itself is like a form of anxiety for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. Like, do I really need to be stressing out about this thing where I turn cameras on and I turn my computers on and I set it all up, and then like it's already enough pressure on its own. Streaming itself is kind of stressful. I don't. Do you guys feel that way?
Yeah.
Snazzy has a good thing about this. You used to say, I don't know if this is still true, but tell us about your mini panic attacks before going live.
What do you mean? What do you mean used to?
Okay. See, you don't. It's not
There's a
something.
reason. There's a reason I have a 10-minute starting screen, and it's not because I want to make people wait for 10 minutes or. I mean, it's a little bit about introducing people to music because I do play music in the 10 minutes. But there's a 10-minute run up to my stream for a reason. Because if I had to just hit go live immediately, I probably would have a panic attack, like on screen. So like, I tend to get that out of the way in private.
Yeah.
Well, starting soon screen has a few different functions, right? And letting yourself get like in the headspace is a really good one. Like no matter how late I am to starting my stream, which is pretty much every day, I still do a 15-minute like run up to actually going live so I can like get mentally ready to actually start streaming.
What's more difficult? The physical
setup?
setup?
I aspire to be as nonchalant about starting times as Hylian Pickles is. This man can be late and he'll be like, nope, 15-minute run up, we're doing this.
I guess my community gives me crap sometimes for being late, but it is one of those things where it's like I got to take care of this other stuff first, or like, and true, the starting soon screen. I know a lot of people, or there has been some controversy about the role of starting soon screens, but I do think it's a chance to do a routine, right? And that is, I can say this as a mental health expert, so this is not individualized advice. This is just general advice. Structure in your life is so healthy. You don't have to have strict structure, but general structure, right? Routine keeps us feeling good. It helps lower anxiety from expectations. So having some sort of routine that you follow when initiating stream helps with anxiety. It helps make you feel comfortable in what you're doing. So it's really helpful to have something like a stream starting soon screen because it gives you that chance to kind of settle into a routine. It settles into what you're about to do. And it gives you a chance to get that anxiety out of the way, which gets better with time usually, but it doesn't usually go all the way away.
I find routine is like the most powerful tool for me personally because
structure. Yep.
It's how I've lost a lot of weight. It's how I've made sure to get my health back under control. Routine, sleeping, getting the right amount of sleep for me is about going to bed at the same time every night. If I don't go to bed at the same time every night, I lay in bed for hours without being able to fall asleep. It's insane. I got my life down to such a routine now that like I know every day what food looks like, what what products I'm going to be using on my body on which day, and I find routine to be the best thing that I've done for myself personally, so I can kind of say that's really helped me the most. And having this is why having a stream schedule is important, because it helps you figure out routines. The starting soon screen thing, even if you're late to your stream, having another way to look at it is kind of ritualistic, right? Like having a good ritual for the beginning of your like I've tried to help people develop, some of my clients develop these things, where I'm like, just brush your teeth before stream, like mentally get yourself in a place where you're like, I'm doing this thing, and like create these good habits. Sometimes just brushing your teeth before you go live, even though no one's gonna smell your breath, like it's one of those things where it's like I'm doing something to, like, it's like putting the tie, straightening your tie or combing your hair or something. Like it's doing something to try and like prep yourself mentally that you're going to be in front of people, that you're going, it's like a, you know, I'm a fan of like reminding myself to take deep breaths, like do that all the time to bring my heart rate down. So routine is actually a fantastic thing. It doesn't have to be like a macroscopic thing. It can be as microscopic as necessary. Like, what does your starting soon routine look like? And Snazzy's is a panic attack followed by preparing himself to go go live. And that, I feel that too. Like, I understand. There's this like, okay, I'm gonna hit the starting soon. I'm gonna hit the start stream button. Here we go. So
I'll tell you some of the most harrowing experiences I've had. What were not particularly with this format, but like when I've streamed with other people before, and they don't have a 10-minute run up, and then I caught flack once for somebody who I won't name drop, who was like, "Why do we need 10 minutes? Dude, like just make it like a 4-minute." I'm like, "All right, well when we're on your channel, you can make it a 4-minute starting. It's 10, you know." Because it's just, you get used to doing things a certain way, right?
Yeah.
And that's tremendously helpful in getting you in a spot where, yeah, you can be in front of a camera. But like, a lot of us are not. I don't think anyone's really born for the camera, right? Like, I know some people take to it better than others, but like,
I don't know.
know.
There's probably a couple
Yeah.
people. I know some people that were born to do what they're doing. It's insane.
Maybe. But I feel like it takes a little bit of getting used to, and it takes a little bit of just like getting into that sort of space, right? Because like if a camera is just like thrust on you suddenly, right, it's jarring, right? Because it's a device in front of you that's recording all your movements and stuff, you know. Like it helps to have a little bit of a buffer, and so that you know it's coming and you can prepare yourself. Like you said, deep breaths. Breathing is important. I should know. My wife often catches me if I'm playing a video game. That's how you know I'm playing a video game too hard, because she'll ask me like, "Am I okay?" I'm like, "Why?" Because like, you're making noises. I'm like, "Oh yeah, I forgot to breathe." I'm just holding my breath.
It happens.
Like,
It happens.
it happens.
So I think the summary here is the best way to influence your own and externally on your stream good mental health, physical health practices is through example, which routines give you the chance to kind of create what that looks like. It's a great tool.
Well, like streaming is pretty like self-starter, right? Like nobody's waking up and then going. Most people probably aren't like going to a studio to sit at their office and start streaming somewhere else. Like we're all in a room in our house right now. So
What do you mean? This is my office.
I'm in a recording studio. I don't know if you've noticed.
I mean, this is technically my office, but it's still just like around the corner from
No,
where I
I know.
sleep.
We know
So,
what you're saying.
but
I sleep right there. I get you.
like everything is self-regulated, and a lot of people forget that part of that is taking care of yourself, scheduling breaks, scheduling time for yourself. Like I'm the type of person that if I have an empty slot in my week, I fill it with something, right? So I had to start filling in empty slots with something labeled free time, so that I would force myself to not be doing stuff. Like you have to self-regulate these kinds of things as well as everything else. It all goes together like that.
Yeah.
And also, if you stream for long periods of time, like Hylian was saying, like a lot of us stream, from maybe even probably the same computer we use for all our other daily tasks, right?
All our other shenanigans.
Shenanigans, yeah. And if you're streaming a lot, if you're streaming to the tune of like 8 hours a day, right? That's basically a second job.
It is a second job. It's not basically a second job.
That's a second job, right? And one thing that I
Literally.
don't care what anybody says.
Even 4 hours.
Yeah, even 4 hours is a
'Cause,
long time.
you-
right,
you-
all there is.
If you stream for 4 hours, that is more work than most people get done in an 8-hour
In 4
job.
hours, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's also like you're then combining two spaces, right? You're combining your personal space with a space that's almost more work related. Obviously, like if you consider yourself a really truly just the casualist of streamers who streams like 2 hours at a time 2 times a week, right? Maybe that doesn't apply to you. But if you have a set schedule and you're streaming 4, 6, 8 hours a day and you're streaming 3, 4, 5 days a week, you're basically now creating a job space on top of your personal space, right?
Yeah. Well, like a lot of us, especially with the pandemic and stuff, like the biggest thing about working from home, the biggest struggle that people generally have is being able to separate work from home because it's all in the same space. And this is no different. If you want to conduct your stream semi-professionally, it's exactly the same scenario as, working from home. So you got to find ways to separate these worlds a little bit.
That all comes back to structure once again. Is really forcing yourself into routine and habit. Not saying that every hour of your day has to be planned out, although pickles sounds like that's what you do. And that's okay if that's what works for you. But yeah, structure. Can't say it enough.
Okay,
It's so good for you.
let's flip the conversation to the more difficult side,
Oh, boy.
which is probably going to be a little bit more corrective towards this industry to those who are making bigger mistakes. The summary here is streaming is not therapy. You are
What?
you are this is like a twofold thing too, right? Like a lot of people will stream because they feel like it's their escape, and they're trying to create a place for viewers to also escape with them too. And this is where I feel like, I don't know. How do you guys feel about this whole concept? Do you feel like streaming should be some sort of escape, or is that dangerous?
I feel streaming should at least be fun.
What's that?
You
Yeah, it
should
should
at
be
least
fun.
have fun while doing it.
Well,
Right.
that's not what I mean. Like, is it a therapeutic space?
It can be.
Yeah, gaming can be absolutely therapeutic. Does it replace therapy for solving problems? No.
No.
But it certainly can be therapeutic.
No.
Those are kind of different things.
Right. Right.
If you have to stream every day to escape your daily life, there's something wrong with your life.
Right.
Like you need to
So it's
analyze
not-
what's going
it's-
on.
It's not a therapy. It may
Correct.
feel good. It
It may feel good, and yeah, ideally it shouldn't be therapy. It shouldn't be filling a void in your life. It should be a fun hobby, at best, right? And at worst, if you're doing it full time, it's a job, right? But it shouldn't be this thing that keeps you going, as it were.
Right,
Like,
right.
That's I sometimes hear people say, like, "Oh, my chat, keeps me going," and I'm like, "Oh boy, have you thought about seeing a professional?" What if you had to
Or
stop streaming? Right?
talking to humans ever?
Like humans, yeah. But like my thing is like, what if you had to stop streaming for some reason, right? Let's say some bum is digging outside your house and they hit the line and they knock your internet out for a week. What are you gonna do then if you can't stream for a week, right? It's like you have to be able to put that aside and be like, hey, listen, I have other things going in my life other than just being in front of a camera.
I'm just worried because I don't think we have enough of information or research around the dangers of it. It's like anything. It's like a vice in a way. Like I don't think streaming can feel good and it can be a good thing, but it's like a double-edged sword. It can be difficult. And if you also make your stream an escape, when somebody messes with it, that can like kind of trigger. Oh, I've seen streamers go off because a troll in the chat showed up. It's like, you're streaming. You got to expect that some troll is going to show up at some point and be able to deal with it. Like if that, it's not a safe space, you know, it's not, if it's your escape now it's a toxic place, and you have, I don't know. I just feel like it's very dangerous to approach it from that direction.
The thing I try to impress on people, I'm not sure if it always comes off that way. I hope it does, right? But like streaming and video games, like, because to me those are both kind of like really intertwined, should be enriching your life and not a replacement for life, right? You should have a life outside of those things.
Yeah. Well, like video games and streaming, they're like a band-aid. They don't actually fix any real problems, but I mean, you can use them sometimes if you need to just like get through the next couple hours or something, but it should never be a replacement for anything, like, ever.
Well, so I would argue, though, that games, particularly like role-playing games, can be helpful for things like social skills and learning certain aspects of coping and overcoming adversity. There's actually science that supports that. That being said, anytime you have an activity that brings you joy, that brings you fulfillment, if that's your only activity, to speak to what Snazzy was saying, that's not going to work long term. You need to have multiple pieces of things that you do that bring you enrichment, because of the things that chat's talking about right now, of the things that Snazzy and Highland brought up, right? Is that if you have a singular thing that's your like special thing that you do, it can become an obsession. It can start to become not something that's self-care or enriching, and if it goes away, you have nothing, you have no coping skills. So I would argue that some therapists actually use things like Dungeons and Dragons for therapy, like to learn social skills, to learn dealing with difficult situations.
That's a game, though, that we're talking about. Like broadcasting is almost, the game doesn't, almost moot, right? Like,
yeah, but I would say still that like even people who have some social difficulties like anxiety can use online social interaction to help if they use it in certain ways, that it can help with their social skills.
True.
It can also hurt, because if that's like their only safe place, right? So there's a balance there. So we can't speak sweepingly one way or the other necessarily.
Right.
But really the key there is to have other things. Like, okay, I have broadcasting and gaming, but I also go to yoga, and I, also sculpt, so there's like a couple different things that I do. So if if I injure myself and I can't do yoga, at least I have these couple other things that still bring me enrichment. And I think that's really important for people to have, is more than one thing that they can reach for to enrich their lives.
Right.
Diversify your interests.
Exactly.
So one of the things I know that we all will just see as a giant red flag is when a streamer kind of oversteps their bounds and tries to give mental health advice or any kind of health advice whatsoever, positive or negative. And what that means is, like, you can have people, they kind of treat their stream like it's, it is therapy, and or they're there to like make people feel really good and have their. I make other people's lives better, and they come to my stream, and it's because of me, and then they give like advice like, oh, all you really need to do is just go outside, put your feet in the grass, and take some deep breaths, and depression goes away forever. And
touch grass.
To me, that's just as bad as telling somebody depression doesn't exist. And so I've seen streamers do this. I've been in a stream where the streamers were saying they don't believe in depression, they don't believe in anxiety. And that's just super dangerous, in my opinion. In fact, I know streamers have been banned for saying that kind of thing when they were caught by Twitch and reported for it. So don't say that kind of stuff because it's totally wrong. And you don't want to use your stream as a platform for. This is really hard to do because how do you not be biased, right? Like you're gonna be biased about stuff, but mental health and physical health, even if it's your expertise, like we have here on the stream, you don't want to give direct advice to people. Your stream isn't a place to be that. That's not what this is. And
also,
go ahead.
I was gonna say also like no matter what intentions you have, and also no matter what qualifications you have. Let's say you are qualified, right? Let's say you are qualified to give advice. You are qualified to be somebody who can give somebody mental health and physical health advice. Like you're gonna very quickly find that if you engage in that, your stream will very often de-evolve into just that all the time.
Yeah.
Because there'll just be an endless line of people looking for advice, and that kind of goes with any kind of advice giving. It's not just mental health. It's not just physical health. It's, for example, streaming advice. If you're known as somebody who's streaming advice a lot,
100%.
you're going to get a lot of people coming to you for streaming advice, right? So if you start handing out mental health advice, you're going to get a lot of people coming to you with mental health questions. And trust me, what you think you've seen, in a normal stream doesn't compare to when people actually try to open up to you and you start hearing some stuff and you're like, wow, we need to take a step back.
Yeah.
Like, I am not a therapist. You need to go see somebody about this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you
And
get?
I mean, there's a difference between like someone sharing that they had a bad day, right? And you go, oh,
Yeah.
that's rough. I'm so sorry, and having that general supportive nature. But yeah, if you open up that can of worms, you're gonna get people trauma dumping. You're gonna get people asking advice, and then chat's gonna start giving advice to people.
Yeah, that's where I was going.
And then it just, oh my gosh, it turns into this like, well, this worked for me. It's like, but that doesn't mean it's gonna work for this person. And it can go down a really, really rough path really fast.
Slippery slope. Yeah, big time.
Oh yeah, incredibly slippery slope.
Yeah. So I guess being encouraging is good, but don't go beyond encouragement and give like direct advice because it's just, you don't know people. When you're the streamer, you're just somebody behind a camera playing video games or whatever it is you're doing. If you're doing crafts or something, I don't care what it is. It's like, it's inappropriate. It's also inappropriate to do this in like a personal relationship. Like I've had a lot of people get upset with me the other way, where like, oh, you're on this diet, that's how you eat. It's like, yeah, that's how I eat. I ate the other way for 40 years and gained 300 pounds. I'm eating this way because it's making me healthy. Sorry. So this is a tough one, even in just real life, regular life, interpersonal relationships, health and mental health in general. I wish it wasn't. I wish we knew more. I wish the science was like much further along for all of this stuff, and that everyone was well educated on mental health and physical health, and there wasn't so much of a debate and a divide between all of this stuff. And it's getting sticky. All of this stuff gets really it gets tied up with other controversies, food and climate change and all this stuff, and then every streamer ever wants to be an expert on everything, and then you end up you're talking about climate change, which then leads to food, which then leads to diet, which then leads to mental health, and everything is a slippery slope when it's like, your stream isn't therapy, It's not a good
That's
place.
my point. Is like no matter how educated you are, no matter how well versed in something you might be, it's like when you have an audience, people are just gonna yell stuff, right? Like if you're at a stand-up comedy show, like, people will just yell out things from the audience, right? Like even when like there's a chance that they'll be roasted for it or whatever. So it's like there's just no way to advise and to sort of play ball with some of these issues without getting dragged into a place you probably don't want your stream to go, right? Unless maybe that's what you want. Maybe you want to be the streamer who constantly gives out health advice, and you're so sure of the stuff that you're giving out is a-okay and not hurting anybody. Listen, you have more balls than
You're wrong, though. But you're wrong.
you have way more courage than I do. I'm afraid to give people advice on like things that don't matter. People ask me like, how do I get past this part in Dark Souls, and I'll be like, oh crap.
Yeah.
However works for you.
Right? It's like I get anxiety advising people on minor things that don't matter. I can't imagine trying to be somebody who actually has to tell people how to live.
That might be
That's
part
crazy.
of your success, Snazzy, because I've seen that's different from a lot of people on Twitch. A lot of people are all on the opposite side, where they're just like, "Oh, dude, you're using that weapon. You shouldn't use that weapon. You should totally
what
use
it
this weapon. That weapon sucks. You know, none of the speedrunners use that weapon. You know, you have." There's a lot of, I think streamers in general want to come off like they're somebody you should listen to. And sometimes you should listen to them. And sometimes you shouldn't. This is such a hard thing to balance, dude. Right?
Well, like we tend to forget. We think of the people in chat as like an amorphous blob of like one thing, but
Oh, that vision.
I mean,
each
if chat
lens.
was a person, it would not be very smart.
well,
Veto dots.
Like if you took chat and personified it into a being, it would be like probably the dumbest creature on the planet. But
I would
Yeah,
definitely
like,
have,
we
I would have
don't-
some sort of deficit disorder on attention though, for sure.
oh yeah, for sure.
it would be worse
Like
than that.
we have no idea who's listening on the other side. It could be like some 15-year-old kid. It could be like a 35-year-old, 70-year-old. Who knows? So like if one person starts giving advice and it starts snowballing into like other like chat giving advice, and you have like some kid fresh out of his first psych class being like, this is what I know for sure, saying that to somebody who's like actually like struggling with something, and it's just so it's not a culture that I find like I want in any of my chat. So there are too many variables. It's too much and too difficult to kind of create as like a thing. So I think it's just best avoided more than not. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't encourage anybody to try to build a culture on their stream of giving advice like that on that degree.
Yeah, I think, and I think example is always the best way to lead, personally. So, just you don't have to tell people, like, this is the diet you need to be on. Just be on it yourself. Like, and then if people are like, "How are you so? Well, you look good. You look so healthy." Then you can be like, "This is what I do." You know, I did a lot of research, and I picked what was working for me. I tried a lot of things. You know, that's example is the best way to go. It's fine to talk about yourself, and you know, I don't know. As a 40-year-old man, I feel like the best thing you can do is just encourage people to think and figure things out, figure out their way forward. There's everybody. You're not going to change everybody either. Like, even if you do become an advice person, like you're basically just going to farm the people who agree with you. And I don't know, that may not be the best way to grow a stream. Personally speaking, I don't know if you just want to create a giant circle of people that just have the same exact bias as you. That's not healthy. The best thing about good friends will tell you when you're wrong. Like, good friendships are there to help you make better decisions most of the time, in my opinion, in my experience. My best friends are the ones that will be like, you should think about this. You know, just think about it. Not the ones who just want to like puff me up and tell me I'm great and never correct me are how do I get better then? How do I know when I'm making mistakes? So, man, this is such a deep topic. We could keep talking, but I want to go into closing statements about everything. I think the summary here is basically just, you know, lead by example when it comes to your own, when it comes to health, physical and mental. Take care of yourself. Routines are good. Do you guys have some final thoughts you want to share? We'll go around. Snazzy, you want to go first?
Yeah. Don't be afraid to cancel stream. Don't be afraid to turn off your camera and stream without a camera if you have to. Um, don't be afraid to admit that you might have taken too big of a bite, right? Just if it's getting to a point where it's negatively affecting you, even if it is something that you normally enjoy and it's normally a positive thing in your life, you need to balance it with something else. Otherwise, if it starts becoming a negative in your life, well, then that means you're either doing it too much or you're doing it wrong. So yeah, you need to kind of analyze and self reflect on why it is you feel that way. And yes, take breaks.
All right, Pickles.
I definitely echo the don't be afraid to cancel stream thing, because there's a lot of pressure to not lose momentum, as it were. So there's that. But also, like, don't be afraid to say I don't know to things, and don't pretend like you need to have an answer to everything. You don't always need to give advice. You can just, sometimes the best thing someone wants to hear is that sucks. I'm sorry for that. So
I'm sorry this happened to you.
yeah, so just don't take on that kind of responsibility. It's dangerous. It's a dangerous game.
Okay, eat your meats.
You can't help other people or take care of other people unless you take care of yourself. You have to be really thoughtful about pacing yourself, being kind to yourself, allowing yourself structure, allowing yourself multiple sources of enrichment so that you can have a good quality of life, because ultimately you have to be a little selfish. And through that good quality of life that you have, it'll help the people around you. So just be good to yourself. And don't tell people what to do on the internet when it comes to medical stuff. Please.
That's not enough. Like,
True.
Don't
So
do
anyway,
it.
we got
True,
these
true.
infinite quality vitamins that we're trying to sell. If you guys want some?
InfiniteQuality.live/health supplements.
supplement.
No, it's
They
not.
don't-
It's not
I
real.
will leave
You know.
this group.
It's not real. It doesn't exist. We got electrolyte drops. No.
Yeah,
So-
it's just Gatorade.
Branched chain amino acids, guys.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for your thoughts on this. I really appreciate this. It's always kind of fun to dig deep and talk about these difficult topics. Honestly, these are the things I don't think other podcasts are going to talk about. And I wish it would happen more. So hopefully other groups out there and other people, you can take this podcast with a grain of salt, but hopefully it also encourages you guys to talk and think and figure stuff out. If you guys would like to know more about our community, infinitequality.live is the website. If you're an affiliate and you're not breaking TOS, you can apply and join our community. And we have all kinds of discussions in our Discord. We've got all kinds of stuff going on. So come check us out, infinitequality.live. And that's where I'm going to leave it. Thanks, everybody. Again, thank you guys in chat. And we'll see you in the next one.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye now.
Bye.